Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we were discussing the core issues already of our summit meeting on Thursday and Friday. So just to brief you on what we've discussed, we discussed the timetable for the EMU and also discussed a number of aspects that are important in this respect. What was particularly important was to set out when we want to do what after having quite a number of successful days behind us on the euro, then on the paying out of the tranches for Greece. The Greek Prime Minister tonight said that he was very gratified because now he could finally launch a policy for growth and also adopt final steps that still needed to be adopted, for example, on tax reform. Then the agreement that was arrived at yesterday by the finance ministers on the banking union was obviously a very important decision. It was welcomed by all around the table because this way the Council no longer needed to address the individual details of this. So now we can see how can we look at the stones that need to be put in place for banking supervision. For supervision, there are two things that are needed. Once supervision is in force, which will be in March of 2014, we need, on the one hand, rules and regulations for direct recapitalization of those banks that are under direct supervision and of this authority. That's a very complicated task. One has to work on the legal details of this. And secondly, and this is what Mario Draghi, as President of the European Central Bank, has made clear to us today, we also obviously need the legal underpinnings, the legal statutes, so as to see to it that those banks that are then under the central supervision can be also undergoing a procedure of resolution. And those rules must not, and this resolution must not be at the expense of the taxpayer, but it must be devised and designed in such a way that those who are responsible for mistakes and for errors within the banking sector are the ones who bear the brunt of the responsibility. Then we discussed the second point, namely a stronger economic coordination of economic policies. We envisage to clarify the details until June. How can we come to agreements on the one hand between member states and the Commission in order to boost competitiveness, and on the other hand to possibly also find certain funds to give those countries who are fully occupied anyway with budgetary consolidation, how they can be supported. What you will not find in the document so far is this question of external shocks and how to absorb them, because that is not specific enough an issue. So we decided today to first and foremost decide and discuss support in order to improve competitiveness. We limited our discussions to this as regards setting up, for example, a solidarity fund, to put it that way, and also we limited ourselves to the agreement to such agreements between the member states and the Commission to boost competitiveness. We then said all of those agreements that we conclude for members of the Eurozone are obviously also open to those, as we did with the Fiscal Compact, who want to join and who want to participate, even though they may not be members of the Eurozone. And this was very much welcomed by the non-Eurozone members. We also then discussed the further steps that are needed for enhanced cooperation and that need to be obviously accompanied and supported by both the European Parliament and the national parliament. So I think we've made it very clear today that for the next council meetings, with the possible exception of the multi-annual financial framework, we will then in March until June discuss the further work plan and I think we've made a very significant step forward, although we also said that after the report of the four presidents, after what the Commission tabled, it is also very important for us that member states too are included in the detailed discussions, and that back home we have time to discuss this with our parliaments, with our national parliaments.